All right, so let's talk a little bit about filing cabinets. All right, we've all seen a filing cabinet, so we have a bit of an idea. We know that there's files, and we know that there's papers that go into the files, and the files go into the filing cabinet. Have you ever seen a filing cabinet, though, that didn't have, like, the master folders and the tabs and all that stuff, and it was just the files themselves just in the cabinet? It looks like a bit of a mess, right? They're falling over onto each other. They're, you know, sliding around in the drawer every time you move the drawer open and closed.
They're more mess than help.
They can be a bit of a mess. Exactly. You must have a master folder that connects to the filing cabinet so that when the files go in and the papers go into those files, there's a sense of organization, there's a sense of structure. Okay? The way I start off 6 acts of receiving now is I say, because we're creating context, because we're creating a new way of looking at things that you typically just presumed you already knew, or you know, presumptions or definitions or associations that you've already been working with. We're creating the equivalent of new master file folders.
Okay.
6 acts of receiving, or the 6 acts by which we receive, is the equivalent of 6 new file folders.
Okay.
The signals that you get are the equivalent of the paper that goes into each of those file folders. But it's just going to be a hodgepodge and a mess to you if we don't create the master file folder that hinges onto the filing cabinet.
Right.
So quite literally, throughout the course of the day, we're creating the context that is the new master file folder. Then by the end of the last hour and a half of the day, we're creating the 6 new file folders that are the 6 new acts of receiving, so that when you leave, whatever your higher power is, whatever the universe is, whatever your higher self is, fill in the blank, that energy, whatever that energy is now set. The context is set for the new information and the new pieces of paper to come into your file folders. And your pieces of paper are going to look different from somebody else's pieces of paper that are going to look different from somebody else's pieces of paper.
If each of these acts of receiving are like a file folder, then it's not really, because when I initially look at the list, it looks almost like a 6-step process. But I'm getting that that's not what it is at all.
Not really, because it's not hierarchical.
Right.
It's not sequential. You can come in at any place. You can concentrate on any one. And you don't have to do the one before. And the one after can look like any of the others. That's what I mean by it's not a technique.
Right.
It's not a technique. It's not a process.
It's a filing system.
It's a filing system. It's a context for how you make sense out of your content in your life, so that you're more open and available to receive.